The internet was built on a promise that voices, no matter how big or small, could be heard. But what happens when some of Hollywood's biggest names allegedly use their power, money, and influence to silence independent creators? That's the question many are now asking after a firestorm of legal threats, public pressure, and behind-the-scenes intimidation tactics allegedly tied to Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. This isn't just about celebrities protecting their image. It's about whether creators like you and me still have the right to comment, critique, and discuss public figures without fear of legal backlash. And for the first time, we're lifting the curtain on what's really been happening behind closed doors, because enough is enough. In this multi-part expose, we'll walk you through the timeline of escalating tension between legal teams and content creators. We'll explore what sparked the feud, how the legal threats were received, and what response followed from the creative community. But more importantly, we'll highlight the critical role free speech plays in the digital age and how fragile that freedom becomes when it's challenged by those with immense resources. This isn't a drama piece. It's a documentation of a real ongoing struggle faced by everyday people navigating the complex world of celebrity criticism and accountability. This is about standing up for the right to speak without being silenced. So whether you're a creator, a viewer, or someone who believes in fairness and transparency, buckle up. What you're about to hear may shock you, but it's all backed by evidence, legal filings, and first-hand experiences. The story began quietly, like most storms do. What appeared to be just another day in the world of social media quickly turned into a battle over currency pools that are foundational to a functioning internet expression, commentary, and critique. It all started when a few independent content creators, including myself, began sharing commentary on public court records, media appearances, and public behavior surrounding celebrity couple Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. What we were doing wasn't new. Content like this fills every corner of YouTube, from reaction videos to long-form commentary and critique. It's a known part of internet culture, but the difference this time, our content didn't sit well with a legal team connected to Blake and Ryan, and what followed raised red flags throughout the creator community. Emails turned into demands turned into formal legal threats, and suddenly creators found themselves in a situation that didn't feel like fair critique anymore. It felt like censorship. For many of us, this was uncharted territory. We weren't trying to start a scandal, we were exercising our right to speak. Everything we covered was already in the public domain, either through court filings, media interviews, or public behavior. But when lawyers got involved, the conversation shifted from "can we talk about this?" to "are we even allowed to exist in this space anymore?" That chilling effect hit hard. Creators began removing videos out of fear. Some stopped posting entirely. Others tried editing their content to stay within the lines. But even that felt like walking a tightrope. The message was clear: questioning or analyzing celebrity narratives, no matter how responsibly, was being discouraged by people with the means to make that discouragement feel like a threat. I decided I couldn't let that stand. That's when I got my legal team involved. Not to escalate or provoke, but to protect. Because when power is used to silence independent voices, the balance shifts. And if no one pushes back, that shift becomes permanent. We began documenting everything. Communications, timestamps, responses. The nature of what was being contested, it was all added to a legal timeline. Our goal wasn't to fight a war, but to defend the space creators have built over decades, one where commentary is not only allowed, but essential. In many ways, YouTube was founded on people talking about what matters to them, news, media stories. And yes, even celebrities. Taking that away doesn't just hurt a few channels, it hurts the entire platform. What's more troubling is the apparent strategy behind the pressure. Rather than addressing issues directly or requesting clarifications, legal teams were approaching creators with intimidating language that made it seem like even fair use discussions could result in lawsuits. That's not how this should work. In a healthy digital space, dialogue comes first. Disagreements happen, but they are handled with transparency, not coercion. And let's be clear, none of the videos in question were defamatory. They weren't wild conspiracy theories or hateful rants. They were carefully worded fact-based explorations of events that were already part of the public conversation. That's what made the pushback so unsettling. It wasn't about correcting misinformation, it felt like an effort to suppress anything that didn't align with a certain narrative. What does it say about our culture when celebrities who regularly use their platforms to share opinions react so strongly when others analyze those actions? Shouldn't the same openness they ask from the world be extended to those who respond to them? That's the essence of a functioning public square. The moment one side gets to speak freely while the other is silenced, that space becomes a stage, not a dialogue. As we moved forward with our legal response, more creators began to speak out. DMs were exchanged, group calls were held, and a quiet unity began forming behind the scenes. People who had never spoken before were now collaborating, not to go after anyone but to stand together. Because when someone tries to push one creator off the map, the rest realize they could be next. This situation isn't just about me or about Blake and Ryan. It's about precedent. If big-name celebrities can send legal teams after small creators for content that falls within fair use, what happens next? Will creators need legal consultations before uploading a video? Will independent commentary survive if it's watered down and void of critical thought? We refuse to let that future take hold. Our team began filing formal replies citing fair use laws and content protections. We emphasized that everything we shared was based on public information interpreted through commentary and clearly presented as opinion, not fact misrepresentation. We weren't claiming exclusive truths, we were analyzing known narratives, a tradition long accepted in journalism, documentary, and internet culture. Meanwhile, supporters rallied behind us. Viewers who had seen the original videos voiced their concern. Lawyers specializing in free speech began reaching out. Even some industry insiders quietly sent messages of support. And as all of this unfolded, one thing became clear: this wasn't just a dispute. It was a pivotal moment in the history of digital expression. The moment our legal team issued its formal responses, the entire tone of the situation shifted. Suddenly, the message was no longer creators being passive recipients of legal threats. It was creators pushing back with facts, law, and public backing. We didn't just defend ourselves, we sent a message: we will not be intimidated into silence. For weeks, our inboxes were full of creators sharing their stories, many of which mirrored our own. One creator recounted how their commentary channel, which focused on analyzing celebrity interviews, received a cease and desist letter after discussing a public charity appearance by Blake and Ryan. Another had videos age restricted or demonetized after automated copyright claims despite relying on legally protected commentary clips. In most cases, the creators weren't monetizing sensationalism, they were participating in cultural conversation. The problem isn't that celebrities want to correct misinformation. That's fair, everyone deserves the right to respond to content that misrepresents them. But the way this situation unfolded suggested a deeper issue, a discomfort with scrutiny, a frustration with not being able to control every corner of their public narrative. And that frustration, when paired with high-powered legal teams, created a dynamic that felt more like suppression than accountability. That's why this moment matters. Because if the conversation stays focused on blame, we miss the bigger picture. The real danger isn't one celebrity couple, it's the model their legal team used, a model that if normalized could allow any powerful individual to exert disproportionate influence over creators. And let's be honest, most creators don't have legal resources on standby. That imbalance creates a culture of fear, not freedom. With every new legal update, we shared carefully worded public statements, making sure to stay within the bounds of legal policy while still keeping our audience informed. Transparency became our best defense. And in doing so, something unexpected happened. The audience grew. More people became invested. Not because they wanted celebrity drama, but because they saw something deeper. They saw a line being drawn between creative freedom and control. In the following weeks, the broader YouTube community began to engage with the issue. Bigger creators with millions of followers started speaking up. Commentary on commentary channels started surfacing. Live streamers hosted panels on digital rights. The question became less about Blake and Ryan and more about what kind of platform YouTube was becoming. Would it stand by its creators, or would it bend to pressure from those with influence? This wasn't just about YouTube either. It became a question for the internet as a whole. Were we entering a time where public narratives could only be shaped by corporations and publicists, or with the decentralized artists, journalists, even small business owners have many saw parallels from our audience kept us going. The idea that speaking the truth or sharing an honest opinion could get you punished hit a nerve that went far beyond YouTube. And it's no surprise why. The digital world has become the new town square. It's where people debate, analyze, and challenge each other's ideas. It's also where power dynamics are constantly tested. When that space becomes controlled not by community standards, but by financial influence and image management, the risk isn't just to creators, it's to all of us. That's why we continue to press forward, not recklessly, but responsibly. Every word we published was fact-checked, every video double-reviewed. We didn't want to win in the court of public opinion. We wanted to set a legal and ethical precedent that protected everyone, including the very celebrities whose teams were attempting to silence critique. Because, in the end, free speech doesn't mean shouting louder than others. It means creating a space where multiple voices can coexist, even if they disagree. It means allowing public figures to be analyzed as long as that analysis is fair, honest, and legal. So we made a choice. We would fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone who depends on platforms like YouTube to share their voice. And the next steps we took would make that mission even more clear, as this intense and deeply personal journey reaches its current chapter. One truth stands out above all. This was never just about one video, one legal notice, or even one celebrity couple. This fight has come to represent a larger battle between creative independence and institutional control, between the voices of everyday people and the concentrated power of wealth and influence. What began as simple commentary rooted in public discourse escalated into a defining moment for creators across digital platforms. And while the road has been rocky, filled with legal threats, emotional strain, and the looming fear of consequences, we've emerged more unified, more informed, and more determined than ever to protect our right to speak freely and responsibly. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are undoubtedly cultural icons with global influence. But influence does not equate to immunity from public critique. No one, regardless of status, should be allowed to dictate which opinions are allowed and which voices get erased. If public figures are praised for speaking their truth, then it must also be acceptable for others to interpret and reflect on that truth, especially when done respectfully, legally, and thoughtfully. The legal system is not a tool for silencing dissent. It is meant to protect fairness and balance even when disagreements rise. And in this case, we've shown that creators, when armed with knowledge and community support, don't have to fold under pressure. We can stand firm not in aggression, but in defense of the creative space we've all built together. This entire ordeal has also sparked vital conversations about the future of digital content. It's prompted creators to educate themselves on fair use, viewers to question whose voices are being muted, and platforms to consider their role in protecting the people who keep them alive. If nothing else, this controversy has proven one thing: free speech online is not just a right, it's a responsibility we all share. To those who have supported us throughout this journey, thank you. Your comments, your messages, your shares, and your belief in open dialogue gave us strength when it was most needed. And to the many creators who stood beside us, you reminded the world that digital voices matter. The road ahead is still unfolding, and the fight for fair expression in a media-driven world isn't over. This chapter closes with a powerful message: intimidation only works when we stand alone. But when we stand together with courage, with truth, and with unity, no amount of pressure can silence us. Let this be a reminder to everyone watching: your voice has power. Don't let anyone take that from you. This was more than a defense, it was a stand. And we stood not just for ourselves, but for every creator who dares to speak freely.